quick comment for the trolls. If a video turns out to be 33 minutes or 1 hour and 19, it's not there. Matt giving a message or a signal to anybody. It just happens. The gematria of the reality flows out everywhere. I'm not surprised, but don't read into it.
Hey guys, it's Matt. The image you're looking at, just a placeholder, don't need to see anything, just a podcast. This is not going to be a 1.25 exercise to speed it up, to get something out of it while you're doing something else. And it really is for those that want to ponder the absolute biggest issues related to the nature of this reality trick, how we're being used, and it relates to the last video I loaded on Free Voice. I have a whole story to tell. And the biggest issues that I want to try to get to, the absolute biggest issues about what this life should be used for and how the trick of reality just wants us to do other things. It's going to take 10 minutes to get into the main part. It's going to be slow. There's no other way I can do it. You have to be in a certain mindset, sit back in the old lazy boy. But, you know, I'm just telling you, it's going to be slow. It's just the way this one, how do you get, I can't get to these issues quickly. It's nothing to deliver. There's no information to deliver. It's realizations we have to. I don't even have the realizations yet myself. I'm talking it out. I don't know how to do it. Realizations you need to come to. So this is just what this is going to be. There's a certain percentage of those that are impatient here. Get to it. It ain't going to be that kind of video. I ain't going to get to anything. So let me tell the story as to how this came to be or why I'm doing this now. Relates to the last video in Free Voice. Okay. For those that haven't seen it, you don't need to see it. I presented the most absurd presentation the screen has ever put forth about a bang 'em up event. They tried to pass this off as real, and it's an absolute joke, and you don't need to see it. But the reason I did the video is, I started out wanting to accomplish something, and then by the end of the video, I was backtracking, or at the end of making it, I was backtracking. And that's why I put kind of that long front segment in before the video for the normies started. I was thinking, I'm being used again. I feel like I'm being played the way I know we were played back when I was making all of these sorts of videos in 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, this event's fake, that's event's fake. But it's fine to present this as fake or whatever, but I wasn't going far enough relating it to reality and existence itself. So we were all being used when we made the 7-Eleven job application videos, all playing into exactly what the system wants, whether it be revelation of the method or something else. If anybody is wanting to say to me right now, how are we used and played in presenting all the 7-Eleven job application videos, 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever it may be, this event's fake, that's not real. How are we used and played? Because now they're censoring us, see? Now they're not allowing us to talk about it. So luckily we were allowed to get that out before the censorship hit. No, that's first grade. No. Absolutely not. First grade. You don't think this system, some say have 100 years or 50 years advance in technology. They drip out the technology slowly. They didn't have the ability to censor us in 2009, 10, 11, 12. They just didn't have the ability. YouTube just had to load the videos. No, they wanted those videos. Just because they're censored now doesn't mean they didn't want them then. There's a timeline they're on. That was the time to allow us to do the revelation of their method or to run with these themes or push certain conspiracies. That was the time for that back then. Now they're not playing that gig. That's the old gig. Now they're playing a new gig. It does revolve around censorship, but please don't think this first grade truth that because they're censoring now, oh, we're lucky we were able to talk about that when we did before they had the censorship rules. And no. They had the ability. YouTube just had to load those videos. No. See how? Don't fall into the first grade truth or paradigms. Okay, it's important. So one more segment on that. In let's say somebody's hustling somebody in a poker game, a complete hustler. So there's different segments of what he, in this case, is going to present himself to be over the course of a 2-hour game. In the beginning, he might present himself as a novice. I don't understand poker hustling, so this is a pretty juvenile example, but and then he's going to evolve into something, or a card shark or a pool shark. I'm thinking like that Tom Cruise character in Color of Money, but he always played his best from the start. That's why Paul Newman got pissed at him. He's supposed to be bad and then evolve. And see, it changes. What the player is at the end is not what it was in the beginning. They allowed us to play this out in 28, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. But then things change, evolve. Now is the time of censorship. They're controlling the timeline. We have to stop playing their game and get off of it, if you see what I'm saying. Okay, where we want to get here is still evolving. It's going to be another 5 or 10 minutes. So one of the main reason I put out the video in free voice is I had good intentions right from the start. But as I was putting it together and getting it finished, I felt, I don't know, like I was being used and played again, putting that material out, even though I was presenting it a little bit differently. Like the pre-video said, hey, I admit you can't wake anybody up with this stuff, but I don't know, there could be 1,000 people out there that like their spouse is just starting to come around and they need this sort of thing to put them over the top. Or the other reason is just a very basic reason. I have some of this old footage, which has completely been wiped out on the certain platforms. And I just wanted to put it out in case somebody wanted to capture it, or the more places people can grab it and hold it. Matt, if it's doing their bidding, what good is grabbing and holding it? This is where I'm going. I hear you. But, I just wanted to, I have some of this old footage that very few people hold. I did, the amount of research I did on these events is just off the charts. The original is RV. I never knew him. I never talked to him, but I basically, like back in the day for 5 years, I was an RV disciple doing that same sort of thing. I don't know what he's doing now or whatever, but I've evolved out of it. I at some point several years ago, I went, wait a second, this is being tricked here. This is what it wants. This is what it wants somehow. And I've tried to evolve the best I can since then. So just to finish and continue the story, I think what I said in the pre-video before the video, if you want to use this, we're all pretty high-level Jedis here. And you might not be familiar with that case. And in and of itself, it is absurd. And we can use it. I'm saying, let's turn the tables. Let's use it to come up with bigger understandings of how the reality trick works. So here's where we're getting into the much more important part. I call Greg up, Greg, who used to have a channel. It's still out there, but he doesn't make videos anymore. He has some bad days, put it that way. But he's still my confidant in terms of bouncing things off, and we've been able to solve a lot of issues, we think, together over the years, working together. Him playing off me, me playing off him. So I said, Greg, you don't talk this truth stuff much anymore, but we need to dive into this. And he was like, okay, let's just do it. Let's dive into it. And let me get to the essence of where we were going. I said, let me just start, Greg, by saying, let me just give you the ending first, so you kind of put up with all this me being all over the place. The ending of it was fascinating. We both got to the point where we hit the reality breakdown wall again. I'm going to do many, many more videos, literally just presenting that the world is far less real or not real at all compared to what even people in this community think, even if you're Mandela affected. So we hit it again in analyzing these bang events. And I was talking to Greg about what I just posted to Free Voice. He hit a wall. Everywhere we turned, every scenario, he said, I just hit a wall. Reality breaks down right here at this moment. Or known reality, what we understand, what they have to work with. It breaks down. And I did it too. I said it breaks down right here. It breaks down right there. So ultimately, in this video, I want to come out the other side and say, this channel, many videos will evolve into not just analyzing an event like what was just shown in Free Voice, but a whole host of different things, saying, okay, this just proves the world, this can't happen. There's a reality breakdown here of some kind. Not everybody will agree whenever I label something a reality breakdown. Many people have a way to try to explain it away or justify it, and I'm going to be wrong sometimes. But the point is then, what does that mean for if you just see one or two reality breakdowns of the hundreds and hundreds that could be presented at this point, then if there's just one that you really believe in, then the world isn't very real. If one person doesn't see any of these bang events and believes Neil Armstrong really went up there and believes everything, but they're Mandela affected, that by itself, without anything else, tells them the world isn't very real. So somebody asked me, let's talk about what that really means. But if the world, of course, growing up as a kid in high school, and you believe the world is something, that's something very solid, it's something very important, it's something very concrete. The definition of success is what society defines. Then when it starts to break down, the key question is, what does that mean for us? That's what we have to come up with, and it might take a long time. What does that really mean for you in terms of how you live your life, how you beat the reality trick and prepare yourself for death, the next phase, and whatever tricks could come then? So I'm all over the place, guys, but this is not really easy to discuss. So let me just back up and go right to the basics. The key part of this video is what I said in the video before the video on free voice. And again, if you didn't see it, I'll just recap it again. I said something like, yeah, we could use this potentially to get through to a spouse that's about to come around. We could use this absurd presentation and this buffoonery that they put forth. But there's like an inner voice inside of me that says, it's in a weird way, it's like, is it our burden to carry this knowledge without trying to push it in the face of everybody else? And there's one thing to say it doesn't work. You can't get through to people. And of course, once somebody has lowered themselves to a certain level, they're literally on some sort of download, mind control, of course, almost nothing's going to get through to them. Rationally, you would think that absurd presentation from this kid, presenting himself just hours after he supposedly, got one in the head, presenting himself on his own porch, we would say, nobody's going to be able to see that and come out the other side of the video and believe it. But it will happen. The normie will have a way to explain or rationalize almost anything. But I was just thinking, it seems, is this our burden? Or, the Christian term is applicable. Is it like carrying your cross? And I thought there's something screaming out in me that says this is kind of like our burden to carry this without running around and trying to put it in people's faces. And more importantly, like just to walk away from it, So the scenario keeps coming back in front of me whenever I go down this path. And I know I'm all over the place, guys. This is very difficult to talk about. I'll talk in a moment about my conversation with Greg. And it is going to, over time, I think my message here will get clearer. My understanding of this will get cleaner. But for now, I apologize. It's all over the place. I always like to go to that moment of death scenario. And I don't want to get into tricks at death and archonic beings going to try to put you back in a body and all that. And I like the demon, approaches a certain individual after death. And I don't believe that will happen. It doesn't mean these are my beliefs. This conversation helps me learn about this life. And you know how many times I've done this. So in this case, the person's like, oh, you're going to send me, and I don't think this happens, guys. It just helps me learn now, understand this life. I don't think these scenarios are going to play out at death, but who knows? But that's not the point. It's just a tool. The person says, you're sending me back into a body? I've got to do, or samsara cycle, I've got to go do it again. Or the archonic being says, well, yeah, this reality that you were in on that snow globe called Earth, all we did is throw thousands and thousands of things at you, showing you it wasn't real. It was just this broke down if you just were to see it through. This reality breakdown, and you were Mandela affected. All of these events, these bangs, they just one after the other, and you kept trying to find a way. This guy over here kept trying to find a way to explain it away, saying, oh, they're paid and everybody involved was paid and threatened. And see, that caught him up for his lifetime. How the societies and how it was coordinated by the deep state. That was his distraction that we got him with. So he's sending back into a body. He's samsaraed. This guy over here didn't believe that, but then our presentation is absurd on purpose, and he kept trying to put it in the face of his aunt and his uncle and his grandmother and his girlfriend, just saying, look at this, look at this, look at this. And then he was samsara, he lost. But then, and that was you, this demon, the Archon's talking to this guy in this role-playing exercise. That was you, kept trying to use it to wake people up. That's why I felt when I put that video out on free voice, I was like, I'm being in some way, I'm being used again. And then, well, who won? And then you could say, this person in the role-playing says back to the archonic being, well, who won? Since I get a mind wipe, just tell me. All right, since you little bastard, since you get a mind wipe, I'll tell you. This guy, see that guy over there? Girl, whatever. She won. How'd she win? Because she'd had enough. She had had enough of it and just said, by my heel, I care not. But I care. I don't care to understand it anymore. I don't care to try to use it anymore to get in the face of my girlfriend or boyfriend or uncle. By my heel, I care not could be the most important truth drop of all time. She won because she simply walked away from it. Now, this isn't the first time these concepts have been introduced, of course, not by me or by others in this community and good commenters. The WarGames at the end, the only move not to play, or what is it? The only winning move is to not play. Only winning move to not play. That was the worst Joshua of all time. But whatever. I'll try. Even if I make myself look like an idiot, I'm going to try from time to time to do certain voices. This is appropriate right now, and I do the humongous too much, but I'm pretty good at it. But this is, what does he say? Related to what we're talking about now, what does the humongous say, the gang leader in The Road Warrior, Mad Max The Road Warrior? He says, just walk away. Just walk away and I'll spare your lives. Just walk away. Just walk away. Is that a truth drop? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Just walk away from chasing the fake reality. There's been too much death. Truth drop, probably. Just walk away. This guy tried to use it to wake everybody up. But see, that's attaching to it. That's rooting to it. This person over here, stood a little bit different, but they were still attaching to it. They were still breathing energy into it. Where attention goes, energy flows. You're flowing your energy into it. You're creating a Jacob Marley chain to it. So the video, look, do I feel so horrible I put out what I did on Free Voice? Is that after we looked at hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these fake events, is that going to doom all of us if we gave our energy one more time to an absurd presentation? No, but I'm glad I did on Free Voice because it led to this. It led to us. Are we finally going to? Is it the Fleetwood Mac song coming into my mind? Never break the chains. We're going to break the chains maybe right now. Break the chains. Where's this shit coming from? But is that what the Fleetwood Mac? God, it's so old. I don't know, but I think so. Something about break the chains. I'll look into it. But so the Free Voice was put out pushing one more bang event is necessary to get to this point where of the three people, the two were sent back through samsara into another life or via samsara. The one person was able to just break free is the person that, like, this is really resonating with me, that just said, by my heel, I care not. I stopped giving, whether I could use it, I don't care. I just stopped giving all energy to it. And does that dissolve the Jacob Marley chains the person was wearing? So in how I've always, you've heard me say hundreds of times, guys, how I've been used. We've been played in this community. And I think we create the same Jacob Marley chains as everybody else, but we're the most fooled because we think we're just and righteous and see the tyranny. We're just and righteous where everybody else is fooled. We've been fooled in the exact same way unless you can just say, I've had it, I'm done with it, and I'm completely walking out of it. All right, let me tell you about the conversation I had with Greg that led to a lot of interesting insights. And this is going to be all over the place. Again, guys, over weeks and weeks, my mind will get more coherent on how to present this. So you just have to jump right in. Greg and I are talking about, first off, well, this is the most important part, so I might as well present it first, even though I don't think we got here for a little while into the conversation. He said, Greg, they don't have to use these absolute fools and morons in making their presentations. We've learned for sure if it looks like a mistake, it's not. In every case, no, but for the most part, I'm really convinced of this. And the inflated tire is the original best example of this. But there's no difference between that and this idiot who was just on the last video, the free voice video, that idiot sitting on his porch. Now, that's not isolated. With them putting an absolute moron who can't act out front is no different than the Legolas event. Legolas was played by Orlando Bloom in Lord of the Rings, or the other absolute morons they've put forth. And Greg and I were like, they don't have to put up morons. They could create their own little dark city Juilliard where they have actors and people that are so convincing. So it's pretty simple. If they put up a moron that will make the presentation look even more absurd, then there's a reason for that. And Greg are like, well, what's the reason for that? They don't have to have a Band-Aid hanging off him. They could make it look real. How did we miss this for so long? We've touched on this, guys. I know about the mistakes on purpose. I'm the original person to put out the mistakes on purpose. But in terms of really understanding why, that I don't think we've gotten that exactly right yet. We've been in the ballpark. It's time to get that exactly right. And then if anybody's yelling at me about screen exercise, I hear you. Yeah, that's exactly right. But then we're going to use it for ourselves. Of course, I shouldn't have to keep saying that. I'm not just going to do a screen exercise and try to figure out what they're presenting. I'm going to try to understand why they're presenting it and how that helps me understand myself. I'm sorry. We were born with mind wipe or complete wipe of who we are, where we came from, wiped with nothing. So I have to look around the tools around me and the clues around me to help me understand myself. And yes, there is an inner knowing or inner something in our DNA that we can tap into, or inner tuning fork. That's something we're going to we refine and tap into that too. But we are still we're Tommy coming in here, okay? That, who knows why the situation was created. We're Tommy, the deaf, dumb, and blind kid coming in here. There's a truth drop, Tommy. But he sure can play a mean pinball, which is a useless pursuit. The deaf, dumb, and blind kid, Tommy, sure plays a mean pinball. Yeah, well, that's pretty useless, okay? The deaf, dumb, and blind kid comes into this existence, this snow globe, this earth, and then they learn to play a mean pinball, become a stockbroker, or push blips around on a screen, or push TPS reports around in the movie The Office, or something useless. And that all these corporations are set up to do absolutely nothing, and you have to put food on the table. The societies structure that. Again, don't do a Jerry Maguire, grab the fish and walk out. You have to put food on the table. It takes a decade or two to remove all the Jacob Marley chains from it. Can't do it. Can't just get up on the desk and take the fish like Jerry Maguire and say, "Who's with me?" and walk out. Now, is that a truth drop? Probably, but I don't. This is just, we're not going to go there. Sorry for the big stray. Let me get back on point. So Greg and I were talking, and we said we're going to play out every scenario to see where it leads us, even things we don't think happened, to see if we can explain away what happened with known reality, whatever we have to work with in our toy box, or if we're going to hit reality breakdowns. And as I alluded to, we hit a reality breakdown every single time. So Greg and I were like, let's just play out what we think didn't happen, just to see where it takes us. And I'll do it here. It's going to take a while. Again, sit back, smoke them if you got them. It's just going to take a while. Again, the purpose of going through all of these different scenarios is twofold. One is to show that no matter what scenario you present, a reality breakdown wall comes that you can't get through. without first grade excuses in the truth community saying like paid and threatened and all that same old stuff. If you want to be honest about it, you hit a reality breakdown wall, which gets us to the point where we say this world isn't very real, and I'm completely going to walk away from it. I don't care about how it works or what its methods are, and that's ultimately, I believe, deep down where we need to get. If you're ready to, if you can get there now, go ahead. But the other thing is you hit a reality breakdown, and also to understand why they put the absurdity out to use us, how we've been used, which ultimately we can use to understand something about ourselves, if we can understand how we're being used. Guys, I had to pause and collect my thoughts on a few things. If you stick with this video to the end, I think you'll be very happy you did. These scenarios could take a while to play out. I think don't jump ahead either, please. Just if you stay to the end, I think you'll be glad you did. I think we might actually be getting somewhere here. So Greg and I played out the scenarios. Said, okay, scenario 1, it's fake, just like we think all of them are. Just like the original fake, El Capitan, up in the Northeast in 2012. So we also played out if it's real. Like maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's real at this point. Maybe they're real copycat events. So we said, okay, let's just assume it's fake. Okay, just like we completely believe the original event, of course, exposed itself to be fake. But maybe, again, we're dealing with an evil genius here. Sorry, I am all over the place. If it's fake, which we believe it is, of course, this and 20 other events. If you're Chuck P again and again, he's got 100 of events he's labeled as fake. The question is, that will lead us to a higher truth potentially. Why do they put out the absurdity? Why do they lead with an absolute moron like this kid's name? I'm not even going to say it. I don't know what will cause a problem here. In the Legolas event, there was a dude named Norman who in each interview said something different happened to him. He was an absolute moron. Now, we're dealing with an evil genius here. They don't have to put out these absolute morons. They're putting out, this is no different than an inflated tire. No different at all than an inflated tire. They're putting out absolute morons for a reason. They could have the darkest of dark, zero dark 30 Juilliard schools for catastrophe, where they train them to be beyond which you could imagine in terms of being believable. They don't have to do this. So why is it done if the event? You don't need to come up with an answer now if it's fake. Okay, it actually makes more sense to put out an absurd buffoon if it's real. Greg and I we agreed to this. Now, of course, we don't think it's real based on the absurdity they put forth, but we left no stone unturned. We went, what if they through the original fake event, El Capitan, then they're real copycat events, real. And then what they do potentially is, I'm not there yet, but again, we went down all paths. It's a real event in Santa Fe, Texas. It was. It's not New Mexico. And then they put out an absolute buffoon. So this entire community believes it didn't happen when it did. So this would be the tactic if you wanted to deface and destroy an entire truth community. So again, if this were the case, Greg, let's just assume, Greg, for fun, right? Let's just assume it's real. The copycat event started, and this is real. So if it's real, wouldn't they want to put somebody up on TV that really just did escape with their lives, so they would show real emotion and it would be believable? You would think, but they chose. We know they chose to put a buffoon up that wouldn't be believable. They didn't just, Matt. They don't care. They'll put anybody up. They mock. They don't care anymore. No, that is such first grade truth. That is first grade. No, the idiots like this guy and Norman and the idiots are chosen on purpose. It is no different than an inflated tire. So it immediately tells our entire community that it didn't happen, when in this case we're still looking at this path of what may have actually happened when it actually did happen. So I said to Greg, what's the purpose of that? And we were like, I don't, metaphysically, I don't know, but it just, on the face of it, just to belittle us, to belittle us. The copycat events potentially started. Many of them are real. Then they present them as fake. So the truthers are like telling their friends and family and girlfriends and wives, and it's all fake. And the people around us think we're absolutely insane for saying that. Okay, I stopped. This is so all over the place that I have to present the conclusion now, or I'm going to lose most of you, Ethan. I will continue this line of thought, if you could call it a sane line of thought, in a moment. See how complicated this seems to be getting? Matt, you're making it too complicated. We'll play it out. I'll show you that me making it this complicated is actually warranted per the breadcrumbs that they give out. But the end is to walk away from all of it. It is. This is the only winning move is not to play. It is a reality generation machine that creates, the Harry Potter maze he ran through for the Golden Goblet or whatever. It generates that, and it will always generate it. And there will never be a satisfactory conclusion, and it's an evil genius beyond measure. The final answer, if this seems too simple and a cop-out, then I'm sorry. The only thing to do in the final answer is exactly what I sensed when I was giving the presentation before the presentation to the normie on the Real Voice video, is this is a quote, our cross to carry. Our burden is to see that nothing will ever make sense. It is the nature of reality itself to stop trying to use it to accomplish this or to wake this person up, to simply Mercutio, by my heel I care not, and don't play. We know the truth drops in Shakespeare, but he says in Romeo and Juliet, by my heel. That's a lot like hell, isn't it? By my hell I care not. Is there a relationship there? Maybe. But guys, just to walk away, remember that the archonic demon at death? This guy kept trying to figure it out. This guy and girl kept trying to figure out what happened to the wall of the Pentagon. And this person just kept trying to use it to wake up their friends. And this person they're still putting energy into it. They're attaching to it, rooting to it. So is there anybody here that is not going to be, my own word, samsaraed? I know it's not a word. You get samsaraed back. I like it. I'll keep using it. It's like devolution. Anybody here win? We're going back. We're screwed. You might as well tell us. Yeah, that person won. Well, what'd they do? They simply saw that the reality itself, there was never any understanding it. Every time they were figuring it out, there's another twist and turn. They simply put their hands up and walked away. Put their heels up. By my heel I care not, and walked away. They made it play chess with itself, or was it tic-tac-toe with itself? And, that's another thing in WarGames. Have it play itself. He wasn't trying to teach. He couldn't teach Joshua the computer, the Whopper, in time playing it. He had to have it play itself. There's a truth drop somewhere in there. But it's still, he is now not involved, Matthew Broderick. In this case, it's learning and it doesn't launch the missiles. But the key is non-involvement. He's completely detached from it as he puts in number of players. Yes, put 0 in for number of players. It'll play itself. That sort of thing. Now, if you're completely lost, let me back up and we'll start again to a degree. But if you're not lost, I have one new story to introduce there that might help put everything together, and then I'll try to summarize it better on the back end. I'm building my thoughts on this as well. This is not easy. All right, this story is relevant at this time. Oh, long story short, I don't know. 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, there was that North Philadelphia shooting event. I was no longer covering the bang events. It just really, whatever. I don't care anymore. But it was North Philadelphia, so I saw it on the local news. And for some reason, I made a video, and I was like, this one's real. First of all, North Philadelphia is like parts of Chicago. It can be very rough, very rough. Okay, obviously, this is the type of thing that happens down there. Shot out the windows, shot some police officers. So I made a video just watching the news. The feel of it seemed different to me, seemed real. I made a video saying it was real. The truth community, came after me like they've never come after me. And I didn't know why, because I didn't research it. See, I didn't research the event through the truth community. This is very telling. So everybody that hung out on BitChute sites or whatever said, Matt, you absolute idiot, coming out saying that thing was real. Idiot you are. We have footage from a helicopter that shows police officers pouring fake blood all over themselves and then jumping into a car. We have helicopter footage. And then I was like, you idiot, not me. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. So to get right to the final point, guys, this is a fake element inserted in a real event. Right? There's still people that are triggered and they want to yell at me right now listening to this. See, I was just watching as the news was presenting the cameras and what the police officers were really doing in this North Philadelphia neighborhood. It had a different feel to me. I have looked at a lot of these events at this point before the prior 7 years. I didn't research it through the truth community. See? I didn't research it through that portal. If I researched it through that portal, my conclusions would have been different. Well, it was so absurd what they presented. It shouldn't have been different. But you want to talk about being used and played. Let's just back up for a second, because there's still people triggered from what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm sorry I've got to do it this way. It's really annoying and condescending, but yeah, right. Yeah, they're so unsophisticated, this not milk reality, that they're going to let a news chopper is going to capture 2 police officers pouring fake blood, and then just by accident, because they're so sloppy and they're so stupid, that they're going to just show that on TV, 2 officers pouring fake blood around. Yeah, see, you want to talk about mistakes on purpose? If you were shown that, you were meant to see that. I mean, are you kidding me? Does anybody not understand that? Do you really think the news copper just caught that? And the news is just out for you. And they showed that. And then, well, why didn't the news then, the anchor say, wait a second, back that up. Why are these police officers pouring fake blood? It happened quickly. It was shown on the news site of some website. It wasn't, okay, every grandma watching the news wasn't going to be like pointing like, that police officer just poured fake blood. It happened quickly from afar. But there was so much there. Every truther, of course, latched onto it. Well, Matt, if it was so hard to see, maybe they really were planting fake blood. Come on. If they poured it all over their hands so they would get to the hospital. They wouldn't do that in the car, right out in the open with news copters right above. They're going to pour fake blood all over their hands. You really believe that? Okay, I can't help you if you do. Matt, saying a thing with definitive nature don't make it correct. Repeating a thing don't improve it none. I hear you, but that's ridiculous. It was done. It's a mistake on purpose. The theme of mistakes on purpose repeats in these events, but this one was real. All right? This one, so to me, this opened up a whole new way of thinking. This was a fake event, put a fake plan, the pouring of the blood all over the police officer or whatever in the North Philly shooting. To me, this was a fake event put into a real event, if that makes any sense. Because again, if I didn't research it through the truth portals, but when I did, the whole narrative on the story changed. All right, so there's something there. So Greg and I played out because of this every single scenario. What if Santa Fe was real? If it was real, well, Matt, wouldn't they want to actually interview a kid that really did escape barely, so the kid would have real emotion and everybody on TV would believe it's real? Because ultimately, Matt, it's just about taking the guns. It's not about taking the guns. That's first grade truth. There's so much more going on. That might be a nice side benefit. The Whopper computer might spit out one day. We've actually done enough of these events, and enough of them are believable, whether they be real copycat events or the ones we faked, it's happened enough where the sentiment is changing. People are actually ready to have the guns taken. Wow, what a nice tertiary benefit. Let's move forward and do it in Australia. Maybe we'll come here 20, 30 years from now. But that's not why they do it. That is not why they do it. To me, it was a fake element inserted in a real event. And we started saying, well, how many other fake elements have they inserted in potentially real events? But either way, you get into let's just switch gears again and get into how Greg and I kept hitting reality breakdowns, walls. So it's kind of like the same reality breakdown wall, the number one reality breakdown wall associated with the fake bang events. And as of right now, where I push my chips that almost all of them are fake. I'm still there. I don't have enough evidence to go against that, but I'm just saying there's so much going on here. Greg and I were playing out different scenarios, and we still haven't gotten to the bottom of it. But let's just play out the. I'll do this quickly because you guys have been with me many times through this, and it's amazing how many of the truth community just doesn't see this, and they still argue with me about this. But the event 4 years ago, whenever it was, in the gambling town, the initial news said 500 injured, beyond just my buddy, 500. And that was in some way were winged by this guy at the top of the hotel. All right. Let me keep it under a minute. We've been down this road too many times. So 2 regional hospitals, obviously they'd call everybody in. Every doctor, every nurse, every lab technician, every orderly, every resident would be called in emergency beeper, if we still had that. Beeper, Dr. Beeper from Caddyshack. They would all come in, but then because it was fake, right? The truth community knows it was fake. I believe that. Of course I believe that. So nobody comes in. Nobody comes in to the hospital. And then Greg and I both we've been through this before, but like reality breakdown. We did this with the Santa Fe, what was loaded on Free Voice. So getting back to just every single doctor, nurse, resident, orderly, guy that was delivering to FedEx at the time, everybody there has to sign the Men in Black papers, paid and threatened. It doesn't work anymore. If you did one major event like The Captain, if you did The Captain, the movie, Captain Hook, or the movie Hook with Robin Williams, if you did one event like that every 10 years and you planned it out perfectly, you could get away with that maybe, but then just doing it every 30 or 45 days of even larger magnitude, is a reality breakdown. You can't keep now, 50 regional hospitals associated with 50 of these events. Everybody inside is paid and threatened. Come on. It's a reality breakdown. If you don't like their whole reality breakdown explanation, okay, I can't explain it. Nobody look at the Legolas event, the Legolas Lord of the Rings starring Orlando Bloom. All those people went down. The hospital was 3 blocks up. Nobody came in, right? The whole regional center, the 3,000 employees, all paid and threatened, right? Just happened over and over. Everybody paid and threatened. It breaks down. It's more, if you want to stay inside the confines of known reality, it's much more believable that after it goes back to the one right outside Denver, 15 years before the first one, that keeps being recycled back. Bowling 4. It goes back to that. If you create that and then the hook, and then you create copycats, and many of these are real, it's much easier to pull off. Of course, you don't think there's any deranged kids out there, probably a few. Then for some reason, whenever they have been real, and Greg and I, again, we kept everything on the table, and it's amazing some of the places we got to. Then they put forth a buffoon to screw us over somehow. And that's what we have to figure out. But then we have to stop trying to figure out because it can't be figured out. We have to walk away is what we ultimately need to do. But we're here now. And if we spend another week or two on this and then before we walk away, I guess that's okay. At some point, maybe we should go as far as we can with this. Maybe it will take a week or 2 or 3 or 4, but then we walk away fine. There's no reason to just completely walk away. Although you could regarding the examination of this crap. It's a reality generation machine with no answer. There never will be an answer. A nature of reality itself. The Mandela effect would say, yeah, of course it could do that. Reality's changed on me many times right in front of my eyes. They don't have any issue with what I'm saying. It's the truther that is only looking inside their own toy box. Well, Matt, the answer must lie inside known reality. Here's the box, Matt, of what the world can do. Look, we have it right here. The answer must be in this toy box. I know for sure if you're limited to your toy box, then you'll never figure it out. And it can't be figured out. That's the point. If there's any takeaway to this, it can't be figured out. It's Dorothy leaving. See, the wizard in Wizard of Oz, he didn't have to put his dumb ass in the room. This is another truth drop. He didn't have to put his dumb ass in the room where Dorothy and everybody comes in and stands just behind a curtain. Somebody that could convince. This is a huge truth drop. Nobody's ever gone here in the truth community. It's just like, this is so in line with what we're talking about now. If he's so sophisticated, this wizard, he built this gigantic emerald green palace. He's got horses of a different color. He's got slaves, people working for him, all this stuff going on. He's so powerful, the witch doesn't mess with that palace. The witch leaves him alone. And even though he has no real power, right? So he couldn't have put his room around back where he'd never be exposed by Toto. Well, Matt, it needed to be, there had to be a scene, a reveal scene for the movie. Well, yeah, maybe that's the truth drop in it as well. You know, the movie seemed to adopt issues. The second grade truth people get stuck on is that means nothing and goes nowhere. Is Frank L. Baum was just presenting. He was presenting. Dorothy originally had silver slippers, and he was making a statement about fiat currency, and he was really wanting real money in the United States backed by gold and silver. Give me a break. Even if that's true, that's where the reality. That's the animal farm. The reality will keep you on, so you don't ever understand a damn thing about yourself. You know, I talk about that sometime. That isn't. Whether Frank L. Baum's original intention with the book was gold and silver backing real money, to run with that is a joke. We're way past that. Okay, we're the meaning of the Wizard of Oz about clicking your heels and going home and escaping the cycle of samsara or tricks at death and metaphysical issues that relate to your spiritual essence that come forth in the movie. That's so far beyond. Who gives a shit about backing real money with currency, with gold or silver? They love it when you waste time on that. So why is the dumbass professor, or it's Professor Marble from the first part, why is the wizard in the room with them? See, that's a mistake on purpose. The wizard is in the room when we analyze all these events. The wizard's in the room, and we think we're so smart, but any dog can do it. We think we're so smart pulling back. Any dog can pull back the curtain. Any dog can look at this idiot who presented himself, and then he played baseball the next day, presented in the last video on Free Voice. Any dog could see that there's no way the event was real because of that. The dummy, his acting job is so bad. And why did he have to see? It's so bad. Then there's either, we always trying to get to the bottom as to why the mistakes are on purpose. And I've been analyzing this so long. So you can do a million different permutations here, like I did with Greg. Well, Matt, if it's real, then it's real. And then the truth community will research things not through regular channels. They'll research it through the truth community. Then when you research these events through the truth community, the absurdity is planted inside the truth community, like pouring of ketchup all over the hands in the Philadelphia event, or idiots like Norman in Florida saying that interview after interview after interview, he's saying different things about the nature of his injury. Always hit 3 times. Oh, no, I was hit. He doesn't even know how many times he was hit. No, that's just, and then the truth community, it's so stupid to come forth and say, they don't need to get anybody good. They know nobody's going to believe us truthers. No, there's much, you can feel there's more to it than that. No way. That goes back to, should do a whole video on first grade truth knee-jerk responses. They just mock, Matt. It's just mockery, and they just get off on it, And how many times can they see the one-eye symbolism? They just laugh and kind of quietly elbow themselves and wink and say, hey, we mocked them again. Yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is. And every single hospital, regional medical group, thousands of employees, every time paid and threatened. Nobody ever leaks anything. You hit the reality breakdown walls time after time after time. And I did it with Greg. Greg is much more sound thinker than I, much more normal quote than I am. And I'm like, Greg, then how do you explain that? And he's like, we hit it again. You can't explain that. This is where the reality breakdown comes on this scenario, on that scenario. So there's really we can keep doing this doesn't this seem to be a fruit that the reality has crafted? Lieutenant Dan got us involved in some sort of fruit. We don't have to worry about money no more. One last thing. The fruit, the succulent fruit, the reality has crafted for us. So we pursue and we chase. And there is no figuring it out. There is no figuring it out. It's just simply the only move is not to play by my heel, I care not. And we'll walk through one other thing for those, and we'll do this over a few weeks, but then eventually we'll walk away. One more scenario here. Okay, it's easy for the truth community to get a presentation like from that moron from Santa Fe for the last video at Free Voice, and just say, or a Robbie Bobby moment. And just from that, like first rule of truth, it's fake. Just from that, maybe I have to re-examine first rule of truth, but that's neither here nor there right now. It's so fake, but we don't ever go farther, and this is why the people around us think we're crazy. We don't want to go farther. Many of us are not big enough to go farther because we don't want to find out what lies at the end of the rainbow, which can never be found, which is a sound example in this scenario because it can never be found. But look, Greg and I played it out. We played it out like we never did before the other day, or it was yesterday. And I said, let's just go into the minor details on the Santa Fe event. Okay. 8 kids, 2 teachers. They put the same day, they put this dummy out front who shows no signs of any problems, no trauma, no pain. Okay, we've been through there. We know that. So Greg and I are like, do they have to put out an absolute moron? No. It's a mistake on purpose. Of course it is. Does he have to pitch the next day? No. If they want to make it look real, then they say he can't pitch because he was blanked, in the back of the neck or head. He just can't pitch. So they don't have to do this. It's an inflated tire. They don't have to do this. So then we played out every possible scenario. So then, maybe it was real, but then we've been through that. I said, look, we're not going to move our chips right now. It certainly seems complete fabrication and fake, but let's really dive into this and see if we hit a reality breakdown. Okay, it's fake, all right? But let's just say Matt and Greg live right outside the town, and we know our cousin lives in the town. We'd say, is there a real high school there? And it's a massive high school. He stood in front of it for interviews. A massive high school. So it's like, okay, the truth community is 100% convinced. As I'm not going to move based on what I just presented on Free Voice and all how absurd everything was. Of course, my chips are still on. It's fake. But how did that work? How does that work? All right, how does that work? So my cousin says, yeah, my kid goes to that high school. And there was a major event. Of course, it wasn't like a closed down high school like we used at Hook and things like that. It wasn't, no. How did they do it? Then, so Matt, so you get into things like this. Each of the families were approached. And since they had it's not like they can make names up. The school would be like, these kids didn't go here. So you get into these reality breakdowns. They would had to have, this is the only way it can work inside our known reality box if it was fake. But see, truth community doesn't go here. They just don't. They don't want to know. They want to be, they're comfortable over here saying it's fake, but when the real hard data comes, they go, oh, I don't want to see that. It's not much different than what the normie does. So the men in black would need to go in to the families, to the kids and the families, and they would need to recruit, incredibly, 10 for each event, 10, 20, 30 for the gambling town, hundreds potentially, but they wouldn't have to recruit as much because, see, in the high school, it's different. In high school, everybody knows everybody. Where I agree, they don't have to recruit many for the gambling because nobody, it's just extras and people don't know each other. In the high school, though, everybody knows each other. So the kids that they say went down, they have to be real students there. The whole school would be like, these kids didn't go here. See how that works? So they would have had to have taken those families and set them up somewhere, like with an alias or the protective custody program. We're going to give you Matt, it's not that hard. New names, new faces, new identities, and a $500,000 bank account. We're going to set you up. But Greg was saying, well, yeah, but so that happened. That's the only way it can happen for these, at least for a school event, is to have the people disappear, to do closed casket funerals. That has to be all orchestrated. See, we're going to get into these reality breakdowns where things just don't hold water. So their only way it could work is they're given new identities. They go off to Vancouver Island or wherever. They go off to Timbuktu. And new name, new identity, $500,000 account. Sounds pretty nice. But how do they recruit the kids in the high school for this? Now, Matt, they're all secret society. See, it starts to break down. They have to recruit the kids to do it. The whole family has to be in on it. Okay? The whole family. Matt, if you were looking at, you'd find similarities. You'd find one child and maybe a single parent. Maybe. But what if I found one child, two parents, and four grandparents that lived a block away? What did the family move to Timbuktu with a new identity, and then the grandparents were just left thinking that they died in this event? See, how does that work? So I guarantee it's not as simple as every single time you could find just a single parent with one kid, so you only have to keep two people quiet. Then fine, they go off to wherever they're going to live with a new identity. They're paid and threatened, but nobody ever tells anybody. Nobody ever says to a kid like, hey, you remember this event? Like, I'm that kid and I can't talk, I have to talk about it. And that kid never gets on Twitter. It's just, if we were only dealing with, and it gets more absurd if you want to stick with me, it gets completely insane. If anybody was listening to this that's not in our community, I'll talk about that in a moment. It gets so, if it was just one event every 10 years, they did the hook. And it took 3 years to set up, and it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of agents on the back end cleaning up like the Information Bureau, cleaning it up on the back end for years and years and years. And we still see the effects of hook with, the charities, the named charities that still exist and things like that. But they didn't just do it with hook. Again, Chuck P. again and again. I don't know, he's got like 150 or something, or over 100 on his list. And as I was looking over the list, I didn't look at them as closely as he did, because I gave up on these events a long time ago. But I'm like, yeah, he's right about that. He's right about that one. Yeah, Umpqua. Yeah, he's right about that one. He's right about San Bernardino. Yeah, he's right about that one. He's right about that. So I didn't know some of the events. Ohio State. Yep, ridiculous. And even, there was a recent, was it Virginia Beach, a year and a half, 2 years ago or something. And somebody sent me an email and they were like, I didn't know this person, but they were like, Matt, I like work in that building. It happened. And people have approached me and I don't know who. Of course, I'm not just going to be like, oh, since I got an email, I believe in every bit of it. But could it be, maybe he's right. And maybe, again, they did the same absurdity. They presented the same non-believable people on camera. And because what we've been trained to do in the truth community is somebody comes on camera that's a complete plant, that is non-believable, and they want the person to be not believable, when potentially the event itself is real. Now, in terms of what they get out of that, and they break down relationships within families, and people like Matt are considered conspiracy theorists, and they don't, their cousins and their friends stop calling. Yeah, that is, they get those wonderful benefits out of that sort of the tactic and behavior. But guys, I'm getting to the point. You get to the point with this, and let me just finish one last thought. Okay, this is the insane part. This is the insane part. What I've been presenting isn't insane at all. Where Greg and I were like, yeah, I mean, now that there'd be 1,000 people that touched these events since 2012, the big El Capitan, thousands of people had to be in on it. And this is just the ones that say they were injured. I mean, in terms of people that touched it, like hospitals, hospital groups, police, first responders, there's now 40,000 people that touched the event that all have to be kept quiet. It's a reality breakdown, guys. There's something going on here. Go watch the Adjustment Bureau. There's just shit going on we don't understand. And when that happens, you'll never be able to figure it out. We'll never figure it out. You just have to put your, by my heel I care not. The only winning move is not to play. That's not a cop out. Matt, you're just not going far in terms of you can't figure it out, so you're just going to throw your hands up and say, I'm not playing. That's a cop-out. And it might seem that way to you, but I'm in no way do I believe it's a cop-out. But let me just present the one more insane scenario, like that hasn't already been presented. So Greg and I are like, yeah, if tens of thousands of people touch the event, then somebody at some point, aren't they going to leak something or going to send something out on email or Twitter? I understand Twitter, the censorship, that they can remove things inside of a second. I know. But we started to even go real. I said, Greg, let's just go full out insane asylum here. No insane stone left untouched. Like, well, yeah, okay. Maybe they put him on the place where David Bowie is. Maybe they look, because again, aren't you going to? Matt, if they brought him back. If they brought him back for the Super Bowl, they're probably not worried about being spotted on the road. They don't have to put him on the place on the map that doesn't exist where David Bowie is, the place you and I will never be able to get to. There's no doubt, in my opinion, in Greg's opinion, many of you, there's a place on the map that doesn't show up on the Mercator map. That's probably the truth drop of why they have to keep talking about the original basis of the map being Mercator. Something that was from 1500. Can't do better now with GPS and all that. There's some island, some major league island continent like New Zealand that exists somewhere. Well, Matt, don't you know that it was shown on the globe in that movie that maybe that's it. Maybe they have to drop the truth there. There's somewhere that John Kerry, the day of the election, it was Hillary. Was it Hillary? Yeah, Hillary Trump. I guess he was called off to Antarctica. He didn't go to Antarctica. He went to probably the place on the map that they can go and you can, or it doesn't even appear on your map. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Greg and I were like, maybe they put them all there. But again, if they bring them back and put them in the Super Bowl, if they bring them back and sing on the Super Bowl, the same. Oh gosh, see, that's not a mockery, guys. You have to understand why that was put there to do something to the truth community. To do something to the truth community. And this is kind of wrapping up, getting into the summary of where this is all going. Oh, finally, get to it, you mother effer. Get to it. All of this endless stuff, guys. I forgot about that. Bringing them back to sing at the Super Bowl. Maybe people are different levels of real here, or you have old souls that really are capable of graduating. See, the effort, the not milk effort is put into us. There's no doubt about it. Neo, we are Neo. And I know people yelling at me, oh, you think you're so special. They work overtime for us. Maybe we're close to old souls or, breaking the cycle of samsara or getting out or however you want to define it for your own belief set or for your religion. They don't, like Tony, my friend Tony, they don't care about him. If he gets wind that JFK didn't really go down like he said, or finally breaks free from the Oswald, from the book Suppository Building story, they don't care because you'd still be thousands of steps away from doing what you need to do. Their effort is spent on us, okay? And one reason, I'm getting at the point with there's a mistake in every single presentation, and I'm getting the point where that's actually the ultimate and final breadcrumb, where the three people, with the Archon after death, and the guy, two are being sent back or being sent somewhere, and one person is escaping. Like, tell me, I'm getting wiped. My mind, well, just tell me, how'd she get out? Because she just saw it was a reality generation machine where the only winning move is not to play. There is no figuring it out. It will always create another twist and turn. It will always put another thing in front of you that you will just have to figure out. And then maybe enough people weren't winning. So enough people weren't winning and saying, I don't play this. So they was like, well, contractually, these Archon assholes, they're meant to suck loose. We're like, we have to have so many people win or they'll revoke our charter. They'll close us down. The higher powers. We're just the big fish in the small pond in the snow globe. We got to get more people to win. I don't know. Well, what do we do? Well, the Mandela effect. Just have reality change right in front of people's eyes. And then if they still hold on after that it's real, then they're real effed up. And of course, like 60% here, 60% don't see that. It's fine if you don't. But then don't feel left out. Don't feel left out. They put just as big of absurdities in front of you. Like the guy I showed who pitched the next day. They put those absurdities in front of you. It's just a different form of Mandela effect. It's a different form of absurdity to see. And they're like, oh my gosh, they're looking down from the control center. They're still chasing it. They're still trying to figure it out. This Matt and Greg are pretty sophisticated. They're getting kind of close. They're having this hour-long conversation playing out all the scenarios. Well, what if it was real with fake events inserted? See, even if I didn't make any sense, guys, on the front end, that's kind of the point. If I made sense on the front end, then we'd be figuring it out. We'd be getting close. It can't be figured out. So it can't be figured out. And you get into conspiracies on top of conspiracies on top of conspiracies. Now Matt's talking about real events put into fake events put into real events. So the truth community believes it's fake when it's actually real. Like, what is the point of that? I would think that and the investigation of it, does that bring life to it, energy to it? Does it create, just sense it. Don't try to find the answer out on the screen. Does that create a Jacob Marley chain? Just sense the answer. Yeah, it does. Energy goes, attention goes, energy flows, the Jacob Marley chain comes back. Energy goes out, it's replaced. There's another truth drop. Matter cannot be a second rule of thermodynamics and that fraud, that Sigmund Freud, Einstein, matter cannot be gained or lost. There you go, another truth drop. Energy goes out, examining the absurd in the truth community, and it's replaced because it has to be zero sum with your own Jacob Marley chain. It's replaced. Well, Matt, we could have gotten to the end here without all this nonsense through an hour. You have to go through the bog. I had to go through and play it out one more time myself. What about yourself? We had to play it out. I had to play. It can never be figured out. What happened to the side of the Pentagon? It's not a cop-out. You could put me on a lie detector, Matt. You just can't get the answer. You're copping out. That's funny. You'd say you've been through it all over the past 10 years, just copping it out. The only winning move is not to play. If you really buckle down, you could figure it out. You can believe that's a cop-out if you want. That is the ultimate answer, is to seeing, and it gives itself away on purpose by the complexity, by the twists and turns, and Labyrinth and Harry. It was the Goblet of Fire where Harry Potter's running around the maze with that guy from Twilight, and it's a constant presentation of mazes and labyrinths, and that's all it is. That's all it is. There's no coming out the other side saying, I got it. We're eventually going to emerge in the truth community and say, I got it. We got it. We understand everything. No. We've been putting our energy in terms of this stuff into it, and energy cannot be gained or lost. Energy goes out, replaced by a Jacob Marley chain. That's pretty much it. It is not a cop-out. It's ultimately where you get to when you've been when I go into the documentation on the book. What did I just add yesterday? I don't know if it's like 100 pages now. If the world were real, then this wouldn't exist. What are the chances that this could happen? And let me just look and say, what was the one I add to it every week? It's not monumental or anything, but I did add because this ridiculous story, I guess it wasn't picked up in the truth community as much as they would have liked. And then they had to add to the story. The reality generation machine shifted up on the fly. So I covered it 3 weeks ago, the $18,000 sculpture that didn't exist. Somebody paid $18,000 or something for a sculpture, that Italian artist. And yeah, here's a fun, hey, got to make fun of the system every so often, right? We'll continue to do that. Get a few laughs. But then I didn't add that to If the World Were Real section, which is like bordering on 100 pages now in the book. But I had to add it when the reality came back and said, they're not paying as much attention to it as they should. So how can we throw a twist into the story? The reality itself, that is the best way to explain it at this point. Somebody pops up that says, no, this Italian artist made $18,000 on a statue that didn't exist. There's nothing but air. There's nothing there. He's saying there's a statue there for those that didn't see my video. And then he sold air, nothing there, for $18,000 and gave a certificate of our authenticity. And it's not even blockchain, because blockchain, if it's a limited tag on blockchain, then that proves you really bought something of value. Somebody said, I did that first. Somebody had a YouTube video said, I created a sculpture where there really wasn't anything there years before this Italian guy. So he's suing. he's suing. Well, I had a back and forth email with somebody say, well, first of all, we shouldn't be wasting time with this, but there's no basis for the suit because the first guy that painted a rose or a flower or whatever, a field or a meadow, then if Monet did it 100 years later, is his family going to sue Monet? Like nobody can ever paint a flower or a meadow again? Because he created a fake statue of air. Well, this guy did too. There's no basis for a lawsuit. That's pointless to go there, I know. But see, it had to pop that. The reality itself had to throw that at us. Give me a break. And it's not the greatest example in the world. But when you just look back, if you focus, this is a big lesson right here. The book's in front of me. If I focus on any one reality breakdown, if the world were real, just page after page after page, then we could get involved in each one, which is what the reality wants to explain it. The Kennedy-Lincoln synchronicities, or if the world were real, the 30-second list of side effects would be taken out of these disgusting side effects, taken out of the drug commercials. It has nothing to do with protecting from lawsuit, nothing. But what does it have something to do with? The implanting in the subconscious that sickness comes either way, all this stuff. It wants to pull us in. It wants me to spend the next 3 or 4 weeks of this channel analyzing why the side effects have to be in. And eventually, when you pull back far enough, and here's the book in front of me, but I just got into Professor Marvel's hot air balloon, and I went up 100,000 feet, and I looked down at the book. It just looks so insignificant. You say, well, hundreds and hundreds of pages of these reality breakdowns. If the world were real, this would have been fixed a long time ago. And for each case, you could say why it's not fixed, like the tax code applies to the Waffle House waitress the same as it applies to George Soros's shell company that's in the United States. It's still an 80,000-page tax code, whether you're Alec Baldwin beating up his family member or you're this little girl working at the Waffle House trying to avoid Tiger Woods. You have the same 80,000 page. You say, well, Matt, don't you know that's about control? And yeah, there's reasons, but it wants you spending your time on it. When you see there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of these types of things, then it all breaks down. There's no real world could pull this off. And in terms of saying the world isn't real, it's the ultimate reason for coming to that realization is about shedding the Jacob Marley chains and starting to do it now. The scenario after death where it's like this person this jerk over here tried to figure it out. That was providing attention and energy to it. And he thought he was being just and righteous in this truth community. He was crafting his own Jacob Marley chains, no different than the guy down the cul-de-sac. From a metaphysical perspective, they were doing the same thing. But this jerk over here thought he was righteous. He was less righteous because he alienated and turned off his entire family while he did it. So that's even worse. He has more Jacob Marley chains, the person that spends all day and all night on BitChute about every possible scenario, of which they're doing it now 1,000-fold over with this thing going on now. Every dark twist and turn that's coming and what it's meant to do and how it's going to doom people and this and that. I'm not saying to go run out and do it. I'm not going to do it, but it's playing its same game, obviously. Just you do more and more research, it's going to show you're real close to figuring out what it really is. It's playing its same game, but even on steroids, no pun intended, based on what's actually happening now. The only winning move is not to play. This is not a cop-out. And the person, say, this guy, the Archon says, I'll tell you, this guy won. See, there he goes. He's not going up the escalator that Joe from Soul was. He's going somewhere completely. He's just going wherever he wants. He won. He has no chains, no Jacob Marley, complete release of attachment, saw himself as the old soul, ready to get out, told his higher self, we ain't playing this anymore. The aspect of him that wasn't all enamored and in awe of the big fish and the small pond. It's just a big, huge fish in a smelly Home Depot bucket. That's what the control structure here is. You want to talk about big fish in a small pond. All that is, all that ever will be, the cosmos. It's a big, smelly fish like shoved in a Home Depot bucket. It doesn't even have much water. The other thing's short. It's a joke. It's not a big fish in a small pond. It ain't a pond. And at least if you back up far enough and look down, okay? Doesn't mean to the end of my days, the appreciation of the nature here, whether you believe that there's a fake reality on top of a reality overlay, or whatever it may be, if it's completely just part of the illusion. Which I don't believe my cats are part of the illusion. I'm not just saying that to make myself feel better. This is an entity of some kind, not just a background like wind or and some people go as far as say everything here as related to soul, even grass, even some people even say rocks, which I don't understand. But you can appreciate the beauty, and it is our job actually to appreciate the good of what's here. It's not just about everything being negative. On the Braveheart poster, it says, not all men, women. No, it says every man, woman, Z, peer, or other dies. Not every man, woman, Z, peer really lives. Every man dies. Not every man truly lives, on the Braveheart poster. And it's twofold. It's walking away from Jeff Goldblum waving his flare in Jurassic Park at the Tyrannosaurus Rex, trying to get Tyrannosaurus Rex trying to get its attention, and then getting it to charge right into the bathroom where it eats that guy right off the pot. It's the little guy from Shallow Hal. This guy, see, he was a great guy. He had the spina bifida or whatever. But see, he sold what happened to him? As soon as he sold his company to Microsoft and went for the money, remember in Shallow Hal, look what he did. Started dating that absolute, I can't even say that young girl who was a complete biatch, and then he's like, he's about money, and he's like, it's a truth drop potentially without even the directors or producers even knowing it's a truth drop. He looks at himself he's a little guy with spina bifida in the hubcap, a shiny hubcap, and he's like, "Is this outfit too? Look at me." That's where I got the "look at me" from that scene in Shallow Hal. He's already like, he's just sold his company to Microsoft. Materialism, attach, and then he's already started. He says, "Is this outfit too? Look at me." He's already dressing unlike he ever was, dating the bitchy girl, rooting to this world. He seemed like a nice guy. I hope he gets out of it. But potential more truth drops. It's the same theme over and over again. So it's not just, I think I'll be fine in terms of the attachments. I don't have attachments really to this world. I'm literally wearing the same pair of shorts with holes in the wrong places. They haven't been washed in who knows how long. I made one purchase this summer. Other than the new Mac, which you guys made possible. Thank you. I bought a cattle feeder from my backyard, where I put 100 gallons of water in, and I sit in it like a pool. I don't give a shit about the materialistic issues of this world. So in terms of walking away from all that, I think I can, like whatever chains, I think I'm stepping out of them. I'm stepping through them. If it's twofold, my bigger problem will be the Braveheart poster. Not every man or woman, Z or peer, all Z or peers die. Not every man, woman, Z or peer truly lives. And am I truly, you can say, Matt, you did drop your attachments and you wanted no part, but you didn't truly live. You didn't just making those videos in that dungeon of yours is not truly living. And it doesn't mean you have to run around and try to see the pyramids and then try to, do it naked and afraid in the Amazon and all. I don't think it means that. I think, I have a lot more to do on that regard, but the appreciation even of nature is truly living. That sort of thing I have to work on. Like I let a spider where I would kill bugs, and I don't do any of that anymore. And in the damn cattle feeder pool, There was a fruit fly landed in the water. I put it on my hand. I tried to revive. I mean, I'm just ridiculous when it comes to saving little insects. And that is, to me, that sort of appreciation of nature is the truly living aspect. So it's twofold. It's twofold. And maybe you have your own interpretations on it. But the reality itself, it's a reality generation machine, and it can't be figured out. The only winning move is not to play. Thanks for listening, guys. I will refine this over time, and very difficult topic to just go on the fly. If it was way all over the place and too hard to understand, I apologize. I'll do better in the future.